So what can the core do for somebody who's duffing or scuffing their chips?
Well, we've played with loads of these guys, haven't we, down the years, Rob?
I've played with pros down the years that do that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I suppose, what does it normally look like? It probably normally looks something like this, won't it? There'll be the sort of the... Oh, that was quite a nice one.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of pros on tour with that.
I bet you couldn't do that again, actually.
No, that was an awesome one. And then, I suppose from the same sort of setup, it's the oh, and the sort of scuttle through the back of the green. They're the pretty common ones, aren't they? I think if you're looking at the whole thing about the core is to try and simplify how a golf club's going to work. Now, if we go to, again, putting the shaft on, if we're looking at trying to give people drills once they've bought the core, if we put a shaft down on the floor here and we ask somebody to look at knocking this shaft forward in that line, in that direction, and just getting the face to sort of squarely hit that, I think the position that they would have to adopt in setup is very different from how they would normally set up when they hit a pitch.
Right.
I think they'd probably normally set up in a position where if it was a ball or if it was the end of the shaft, they'd have this sort of look with the ball relatively back in the stance, the hands pretty forward. I think this is pretty much what a lot of people read about and think that this is how they're meant to set up. But with this analogy here, you can start to see how the only thing that's going to happen is either the club digging into the ground, or the only way to sort of get the club to hit that shaft pretty squarely, the grip end, would be to almost flick at the ball. So I think a huge amount of short game issues are down to how people set up the golf ball.
Okay.
If we look at just giving somebody that analogy, and you know, often I do this in lessons and I just say, right, you just set up how you'd like to. I think people push that a little bit further forward in the stance and they almost get a feel for how they might just sort of knock the ball forward, almost drive it forward. It'd probably look something like this, where they'd stand here, they'd have the ball in the same position, they've got a little target up there, and they just drive the ball forward. They've got a sort of position that they fancy, can just get the job of knocking the ball forward a distance they want it to go. Now, how does that help somebody who now goes to an angled club? Well, I think that motion that they've just learnt with the core just needs to be repeated. We both know that it's the club's job to knock the ball up in the air. So if they could set up in the same way, they can deliver the club in the same way, the ball is just lofted up into the air by the angle on the club.
Right.
So really what they're trying to do is just learn in a very simple way to stay out of the job of the club and just let the club do its job.
So in practice terms, should they take the core and the bucket of balls and just practice same to get the feel of it? Is that how they go about it?
Absolutely. I think how they would deliver the core into the back of a grip end is pretty much it's a descriptive word, it's a feel. I might describe it in a certain way, they would have to find their own way of describing it, but that feel essentially is how they want to then deliver the club into the back of the ball, whether it's with this, which is obviously going to do its job and just drive the ball forward, or whether it's with 50 degrees of loft and they just drive that angle into the back of the ball and the ball pops up in the air.
Very simple.
Well, that's what it's all about, making it simple but very effective in learning to get better at the short game.